Hey you guys, it's Mrs. Knight. We are going to talk today about writing functions, and these functions are a little bit trickier than the ones that we have been doing. I do want to refresh your memory on what I said yesterday about Springboard. So Springboard likes to have like a general topic, and then we kind of keep going back to it. So if you remember, we were talking about the dog situation where it was like this lady was working in a pound or whatever, and people were bringing their dogs, and then she would have to feed them. And so at first she thought, since it said like a 3-pound dog got 3 ounces and a 10-pound dog got 10 ounces, she thought that that was just the equation for all of the dogs. And then she realized that they had these 3 different categories: small dogs, mid dogs, and large dogs according to their weight. And then she figured out how much she would have to feed each of those. So we're gonna start back and we're gonna talk about the mid-sized dog. Okay, and if you remember correctly, so the small dogs got the amount of ounces that they were in pounds. So a 5-pound dog got 5 ounces of food. And then all of a sudden when they went to 20 pounds or 21 pounds, they would end up getting a half an ounce for each pound of weight they were. So just to make you understand, because I know to me, I thought, gosh, this is so confusing. So a 20-pound dog would get 20 ounces of food. A 21-pound dog got 20.5, and a 22-pound dog got 21. So for every pound the dog went up in weight, he got an extra half ounce of food. Okay, so we did do this yesterday. We wrote the equation, f of x equals 0.5, or I think yesterday we used f of w, so let's try to remember to do that today. F of w, because w is the weight of the dog. And then the reason why we subtract 20 here is because it was the weight of the dog. So if we have to subtract the 20 pounds. So let me explain to you what I mean here. Okay, so a 20-pound dog is just getting 20 ounces of food. A 21-pound dog is getting 20.5. So what I have to do to get this extra 0.5 is I have to subtract the 21 from the first 20. And then I'm gonna add the 20 back, okay? Because he's only getting a half a pound for this much, and he got 20 pounds already. All right, f of w, whoops, I should have had an equal sign there, 0.5w minus 10 plus 20. So f of w equals 0.5w plus 10. So we did go through this yesterday, and we did get this far, and we said this is the formula we are going to use for mid-sized dogs, okay? Now we also, really important, need to know when to use this formula. So that's the domain. How do I know when to use this? And so we talked about, well, we are going to use this. We're going to use this when the weight of the dog is in between 0 and, oh, sorry, that's the small dogs. When it's in between 20 and 100 pounds, we're gonna use this formula. Okay, so if the dog is between 20 and 100, we're gonna use this formula. All right, then we talked about the large dogs. Now, if you remember, the large dogs is everything that's over 100 pounds. And what we figured out is that it was 1/10 for every extra pound. So the easiest way for me to, when I was going back thinking about this, I said, okay, so a 100-pound dog was going to get 60 ounces of food. And if I put 100 into here, it would spit out 60. So I would get 60, or the dog would get 60. Then if it was 110 pounds, it goes up by 1 ounce. It's going to get 61 ounces of food. If it's a 120-pound dog, it's going to get 62 ounces of food. So for every 10 pounds, it now goes up 1 ounce of food. And so if I got asked the question, how much food am I going to get for a 140-pound dog? Well, I'm probably just going to keep going here on this pattern. I'm not going to even figure out an equation, although we are. But I would probably just keep going, okay, that's 63. A 140-pound dog is going to get 64 pounds of food. How much food would a 140-pound dog get? 64. All right, and I will go back and refresh your memory on the equation we used because we want to make sure that we're right as well. That equation was F of W. It was, he got 1/10 of a pound minus the first 100 pounds and then plus the 60 ounces of food. Oops, let me move that over. Plus the 60. Okay, when I distribute that, F of W equals 0.1 W plus 50. So this is the equation that I'm going to use for the large dogs. And just to show you, because we should get the same answer, right? When I plug that in, when I plug my 140, I'm going to put 140 times 0.1 plus 50 gets me 64 ounces of food. Okay, so either way, we should get the same answer. Okay, what's the domain? When can I use this equation? When do I use this formula here for large dogs? Well, it is when the weight is larger than 100 pounds. That's when I use this equation. Now the range, so what are some outcomes I'm gonna get? Well, the smallest the dog can be is 100 pounds. And I know that if the dog was 100 pounds, he's gonna get 60 ounces of food. So the range is going to be that it's going to be greater than 60 ounces of food, okay? All right, now what I wanted to do just down here is kind of recap. I feel like I just need to straighten everything out in my mind, and this is what our functions are going to end up looking like. We're gonna say F of W, and we have three different things, right? Because one thing's happening if it's a small dog, middle dog, or large dog. So the equation I would use for a small dog is that F of W equals W, and I can use that. This is when I have to put the domain here. I'm gonna use that when the weight of the dog is between 0 and 20 pounds. Then the next equation was for the mid-sized dog, which we wrote up here. 0.5 W plus 10, and we're gonna use that when the dog is between 20 and 100 pounds. And then the last formula, which we just came up with, and we're gonna use that when the weight of the dog is greater than 100. All right, so we're kind of just, this is sort of our key. So this is, we're gonna talk a little bit more about piecewise functions tomorrow, but this is what a piecewise function would look like. It's not completely linear. It's, you know, this tells me when the dog is this weight, I have to use this equation. When it's this weight, I use this one. When it's this weight, I use this one, okay? And so most of the time, and you're gonna do this in a few minutes, you're gonna basically be plugging in different weights of the dog to determine how much food they should get. Now, what's happening down here is they're basically flipping it. They're saying, well, what if I know that Max is a dog and gets 63 ounces of food? How much does he weigh? And what about if Min is a dog and gets 32 ounces of food? How much does Min weigh? So I just kind of backtracked here. And I thought, well, hold on, what kind of dog does Max have to be? Well, a small dog, the most food a small dog gets is 20 pounds. So Max is definitely not a small dog. A mid-sized dog, the most food they get is 60 pounds. So Max can't be a mid-sized dog. He must be a large dog. So I'm gonna go ahead and use the large dog formula. F of W equals 0.1 W plus 50. And then I have to plug my 62. That's not the weight of the dog, that's how much the dog got fed. So 63 equals 0.1 W plus 50. And now I just start solving this. I subtract 50 from both sides, divide by 0.1. So Max weighs 130 pounds, okay? Now let's talk about Min. We're gonna do the same exact thing for Min. We're gonna say that F of W, well, we have to figure out what size dog Min is. Well, we know it's not a small dog because the most amount of food a small dog got was 20 pounds. We know it's not a large dog because the least amount of food a large dog got was 60 pounds. And so Min must be a mid-sized dog. So we're going to use the mid-size equation. All right, once again, 32 ounces, that's how much food the dog got. And now we're just going to solve this. I subtracted 10 from both sides, divide by 0.5, and Min must weigh 44 pounds. Okay? All right, on the next page, what I want you to do is, on the side of this chart, I know you probably already have this written down, we're just gonna rewrite our equations so we don't have to flip back and forth. And I'm just gonna write small dog, and that was f of x, or f of w, equals w. And when could we use that? We could use that when the weight of the dog was between 0 and 20. And then we had the mid-sized dog, and the formula for that was 0.5 w plus 10. And that was when the dog was between 20 and 100 pounds. And then we had the large dog, and that was 0.1 w plus 50. I'm gonna double check these. And that was when w was greater than 100. Let me just check before we get going here to make sure these equations are right. I think they are. Okay, so now what I want you to do is you're gonna pause the screen or pause this, and you're gonna try to work with a partner and fill this in. So this is the weight of the dog. You're gonna find the weight of the dog, figure out which equation to use, and then calculate how much food they would get, okay? Go ahead and pause it, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna fill it in, and I'm not gonna explain how to do them all because I think that people in the class will be able to help each other and get it, but go ahead and pause it. All right, I'm assuming that you finished pausing it. So now I'm gonna fill in these answers. All right, so see how you did. Okay, the next thing is we're gonna move on to a new situation. So we're moving on from the dogs. And I'm gonna try to, this is talking about a sale of trail mix, because that happens all the time. There's all these sales on trails mix. Anyway, so for here, you can see that if you buy less than 4, that's a 4, it's not 41. If you buy less than 4 pounds, you get $2, it's $2 a pound. And if you buy between 4 and 10 pounds, this is the equation you're gonna use here. Okay, $6 plus a half a pound, plus 50 cents for a pound, okay? So now we're gonna write our function. And so let's just do each part at a time, okay? So, and then we're gonna talk about the domain and range. So let's just look at the very first part. Okay, if I buy less than 4 pounds, then I have to pay $2 a pound. Well, what's that equation gonna look like? If C is for the cost, so C of X equals 2X. All right, the domain, when can I use this? When I buy between 0, and it has to be less than, so I can't put that line underneath it. All right, and then what's the range? The range is the cost. So the range is going to be, I can buy nothing and it would cost 0 money. It's gonna be between 0 and 8. Because if I bought 4 pounds, it would be $8, but I can't buy 4 pounds because this is less than 4. Okay. So the second part, see if I have to write the second part. Yes, the second part is going to be this equation right here. So it is 0.5 x plus 6. So this is, and when can I use this? I can use this when I buy between 4 and 10. So 4. Okay, and then what is the range going to be? The range is going to be, well, the least amount I can pay if I plug a 4 in here, right? The least amount I can pay is if it's 50 cents for a pound and I bought 4 pounds, that's $2 plus the $6. So the least amount I can pay is $8. And the most amount, if I plug a 10 in here, 10 times a half is 5. 5 plus 6 gets me my 11. All right. Now, usually if it's just asking for the function, you're just going to have this part. You just have to say, hey, this is when I'm going to use this equation. This is when I'm going to use this equation. This particular question also asks for the range, but usually it'll just be, when do I need to use this equation? All right, so what I want you to do is I want you to figure out, plug these numbers in to the pounds and figure out the cost. And we've kind of written the piecewise function already. All right, so you should have gotten these answers when you plugged 4 into here. 8, 5 would have gotten you $8.50, and 6 would have gotten you $10. Now, a piecewise function, we already wrote that. We just kind of talked about it and when we did it. So here's what their actual, just so you can see exactly what the book has for an answer. It's 2x, and then it says when and then all right. Okay, I'm gonna stop there because the next part, I don't know if we're gonna cover today or tomorrow. Okay, so go ahead and stop the video there.